Syncrude is committed to addressing our reclamation challenges with good science. South Bison Hills, it's a reclamation area that has been reclaimed from about a period of the 1990s to early 2000s. Our overburden at Mildred Lake Mine is a Clearwater Formation, which is originally an ocean sediment deposit. It has high salinity and high sodium, and that material has a potential risk for vegetation growth in a reclaimed landscape. Syncrude recognized the challenge that we had for reclamation on overburden here at Mildred Lake. So we initiated a study in the late 90s involving a number of researchers and people here at Syncrude.
Syncrude scientists and engineers were one of the first groups that designed closure landforms as entire watersheds that had to integrate with the natural system. This landform, South Bison Hill, was one of the early designs of that concept of developing a fully integrated watershed. It's not only established sort of a new standard for how you design and construct and study these landforms, but it's also produced confidence in some of the tools we use, both in terms of site monitoring, some of the computer simulation tools we use to predict performance. And I think in the long term, it's producing a really increased level of confidence. So when you talk to people that aren't familiar with this site, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is what they've seen on news media. But when you bring them to actually see the reclamation and walk through forests that have been evolving over the last 15 or 20 years, it's interesting to see the confidence and the hope it provides them that if we can create a situation where nature can take over and bring it to full maturity, that there's great hope in what we're doing here.
South Bison Hill is a really important source of information for reclamation within the Syncrude site, and I think among all oil sands operators. It's one of these areas that you can look at soil practices, you can look at forest planning practices, and you can look at monitoring practices. So when we look at other sites and we try to understand what's going on there, we can often come here and look at the papers and the research and the science that's come from this site and understand what's going on in other ecosystems, and we can also use that information to guide in the reclamation process. In terms of sustainability, we've done a lot of work comparing South Bison Hill to other aspen forests and boreal forests in the region in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and around the areas. And what we see is that this forest is remarkably unremarkable in the sense that it is sustainable, it's growing at rates we'd expected. We do classic forest measurements of tree density, tree height. This South Bison Hill is on a relatively normal, if not better than normal, growth projection. So we see nothing so far in the climate that we've had in the last 15 years to show that this forest is in any way sort of stressed. It's growing at a very sort of sustainable rate, and I see nothing has indicated that it's not going to continue to grow to